1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. That's $2,000. But here's the question that I want to ask you right now. If you had $50,000, what would you buy? That's the question. I want you to put your answer in the comments below before we get into this show. So that's the question. Press pause, and before you get into the intro, I want you to answer that question. If you had $50,000 right now to spend on sports cards, what would you buy? Cue the intro.
Sports show every Friday, hot take, what's the market, behind the scenes from the car shows to the streets. There's only one show, there's only one show I wanna watch.
Welcome back to EDI Sports Show. I'm your host, Doc Schwartz, and yes, I'm back from vacation. It was awesome to get away, to recharge, to rejuvenate, and to come back to you guys with a brand new show. And I have great news for you, because I'm actually going to dive into a 3-part series. That means if you're not subscribed now, hit the subscribe button, because we're going to do a show on this week's topic that's going to tie to next week, that's going to tie to the following week. So the question for this week's show is, if you had $50,000, what would you spend it on? That's the topic of this week's show. Next week, we're going to actually go into the $50,000 mistake. That's right. If you actually spent $50,000 and lost it all, and then the following week, we're going to get into this question, which is, how do you turn $50,000 into a $1 million collection? So if you want to know all of those things, hit the subscribe button, because we've got 3 awesome shows coming up. Before we get into this week's show, I want to make sure that you all know about the new Google form. That is, if you're trying to sell your cards, all right? So if you have cards from the 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s, modern, whatever you have, if you're trying to sell your cards, go fill out this Google form, because I am talking to dealers, to card shops, to whatnot people, to anybody in the hobby that's buying cards, and they want to know what you have to sell. So if you can let me know, I can kind of say like, hey, this is what people are trying to sell. Here's the options, and then they can kind of make you offers. So go fill out that Google form. But I don't want to take any more time. Let's get into this week's episode, which is all about, if you had $50,000, what would you buy? Now, the reason that I'm going into that conversation is because I was at a card show recently, and I don't know if you guys remember or if you've been paying attention, but I have been working with the Arizona State Card Show here in Phoenix. I'm trying to help them build that show into the major show in the Arizona area. It already is the biggest show. They have, over the course of a year, they have close to 15,000 people come to their shows. We're trying to grow that to 20 to 25,000 people coming. So if you are in the Arizona area, please go to Arizona State Card Show. You can find out that all of the dates of the next show, and I'll see you there. So, I'm there. You can meet me. We could do autographs, or we could do TikToks, whatever you want to do. But anyway, the reason I'm asking this question, if you had $50,000, what would you spend it on, is because I ran into a brand new collector, investor, flipper, whatever you want to call yourself. But this person admitted that they were brand new to the hobby, and they had spent $50,000 over the last 12 months. That's right, $50,000 over the last calendar year. And they were kind of asking, did I do the right thing? Like, I don't really know what I have. I don't really understand the value, but I spent $50,000 and I had fun doing it, but I'm not sure if I spent that money wisely. And that's what I wanted to kind of explore is, well, how much money are you guys spending on cards? Now, I'm going to tell you, I probably spent $50,000 on sports cards over my entire life. Again, I've been doing this for 40 years, and if you do $1,000 a year, that's $40,000 right there. So obviously, I've spent at least $50,000 on sports cards, but not much more than that. I'll have to say, I don't really spend a whole lot on sports cards per year, but again, over time, you start to really build out a collection, because if you're spending a certain amount per year, you can get deals. We're going to get to that at the last episode. Again, 2 weeks from now, we're going to go into how you spend $50,000 and turn it into a $1 million collection. So that's in 2 weeks from now. But for right now, that's why I wanted to talk about this. Now, the first step in this, how do you know if you're spending $50,000 wisely or not, is here's the tip that I want to leave you with, okay, in this show. So here's the takeaway. The tip that I want you to do is how to do research, all right? That's what I want you to know how to do. How do you do research? How do you decide what to buy? Because if you have $50,000, what you want to be able to do is get the most value for your money. Because if you don't get any value, you are literally throwing your money away. And we're going to talk about that next week as to the $50,000 mistake. But I don't want you to make those mistakes. I want you to avoid those mistakes. So here's my suggestion. Here's the tip. When you do research, what I want you to do is I want you to make a list. If you want to use a spreadsheet, if you want to do it on a piece of paper, this is my piece of paper. And so what I want you to do is I want you to look at all the cards. Go to eBay and actually just type in whatever year or whatever player you're looking for, and just type it into eBay and just look at all of the options. That's the first level of research. Just look at the cards. Find out, like, oh, I like the way that card looked. Oh, I like the way this card looks. Oh, I like this player. And just start making a list. Again, write it down on a piece of paper. Write down all the players that you're interested in. Make a list. Do not buy a thing, please. This is step one in the process. Do not buy anything, just make a list. Look at all of the cards that you can find. Look at the product. See what you like. See what you don't like. Cross off, like, I don't like that set. I don't like that year. I have done research because I am putting together different magazines. Again, the Card Hoarder magazine, you can get the free copies right now in the Facebook group, the Card Hoarder Nation. So if you want to go, there's already one magazine done for cards in the 1950s, and I have done research on the 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s, all the way through modern. And what I noticed is that the way the cards look change over time. And I personally do not like the way cards look basically between 1995 through 2007. So that time frame, I think cards are horrible. I think it's a dark period in the hobby, which is why the hobby didn't actually grow during that period. The photos were horrible, the sets are horrible, and it's just there wasn't much attention on the hobby. Now, that's my opinion. That may not be your opinion. You may like the 2003 series and you're like, I don't know what you're talking about. That's my favorite series. Again, I don't agree, but that's what the hobby's all about. It's about personal opinion. And that's why you need to write a list. So I want you to look at cards. I want you to look at Topps cards. I want you to look at Bowman cards. I want you to look at National Treasures. That's the first piece. Then the second piece is then I want you to look at the comps. The reason why is I want you to start getting a feel. Again, once you have a list of the types of cards that you like, the sets, the manufacturers, the years, then I want you to write down the comps. And the comps mean the last 30 days of sales, okay? Not the last 10 sales. No. The last 30 days of sales. So if there's only 5 sales in the last 30 days, you're going to write down 5 sales. If there are 50 sales, you're going to write down all 50. And the reason why you want to look at the last 30 days is because now you're going to understand what are the cards actually selling for. That doesn't mean that's what they're worth. What I mean is that's what they're selling for. That means that's what you're probably going to have to pay. We're not into what the cards are worth yet. Trust me, we're going to do that next week. But this is just to understand, okay, if I have $50,000 and these are all, like again, this is my list. If these are all the cards that I want and you write down how much they're selling for, then you can actually add it up and be like, if I have $50,000, can I get all of the cards that I want? That's what you want to know. Can I get all of them? Now, if you have $50,000 in cash, there's going to be one advantage, and I'm going to leave you with this one thought. Cash is king. If you have cash, if you go to a card show, and again, card shows is really the best way to do this hobby at this level. If you want to build a major collection, honestly, you need to go to card shows, or you need to go to trade nights, or you need to talk to people face to face, because you're going to get more value that way. Being on Whatnot, being on eBay, being on any other third-party seller app is not going to get you the value unless you can negotiate one-on-one with the person selling the cards. And unfortunately, eBay does not like negotiations. In fact, they discourage negotiations. You could get kicked off the platform if you negotiate in the DMs. This is a problem for eBay. That's why I have always said eBay has a problem in the hobby. But here's my suggestion again. I'm going to leave you with this one last tip. If you go to a card show and you have major cash in your pocket, like I said, I showed you at the beginning of this is $2,000. Okay? So here we go. $2,000. If I brought $2,000 to a card show, I have negotiating power. That means if I wanted 5 cards on the table and I go to a dealer and say, all right, pick out, I want those 5 cards. And I've got a bunch here that I picked up. We'll get into this later in the show, but here we go. We got 1, we got 2, we got 3, we got 4, and let's do this. We got 5. Okay, so we got 5 cards. Now I'm going to tell you what is the price on these. So the Juan Marichal is 30, the Jim Palmer is 50, the Tony Perez is 120, the Roberto Clemente is 120, and the 1967 Champs, they have it for 25. Okay, so if we look at this stack, that's 240, 270, 300, 325. That's 325 that they are asking for. Now they do a discount because they go, we're going to do book and then we're going to do a price. So he's already doing 50% off. So it's at 325. It's now down to 175 that they're asking for these 5 cards. Now if I go to them with money, again, $2,000, I'm going to say, okay, you've got all 5 of these cards. I want to pay $100. Again, he's asking $175, but I'm now offering $100, $20 a card. Now, I'm going to ask you the question, do you think that these cards are worth 20 each? Okay? Do you think they're worth 20 each? Now, the real issue is, well, yeah, probably because of the Clemente. The Clemente's worth way more than $20. And that's my point, is that you're getting value for cash. So I can give $100, I'm getting $175 worth of cards for 100, which you cannot do online. You can only do this at a card show or face-to-face with somebody. And that's my point. Now, I actually got all of these cards. I'm going to show you the whole lot. I got the whole lot for 100. The whole lot. And I think there's 12. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 cards. Okay? I'm going to show you the other cards that I got. Okay? That's a strikeout leader with Koufax. This is a Tim McCarver. This is the world champs on the Mets. Gary Carter. You got Casey Stengel. You got Bud Harrelson. And you already saw all the others. So I got all of those cards for $100. 12 of them for $100. And that's because, again, I was there, I had cash, cash is king, and the dealer doesn't want all of these cards. Why do they want these cards? So for him, it's a huge deal because he now has $100 in cash. He gets rid of 12 cards, which, to be honest, the only card that really anybody wants out of this whole pile is this one. It's the only card that anyone's looking for. So I took 11 other cards because this is the only one that's the popular card. Now, he was trying to sell this one, so he's saying book is 120. I disagree. I think this card is worth 100, but he was selling it for 30. Again, I think it's worth 100, so he was $20 over what I think it's worth, but he was selling it for 30. Now, I got it for less than that. I got it for less than $30. So who got a deal? I got a deal, but he made $100. And that's my point. He basically sold one card that everybody's looking for and 11 other cards that no one looks for. So to a dealer, it's a great deal. I'll take $100 because these cards to him, they may be worth X amount of dollars, but they're really only worth about $5 each. So he sold this card pretty much for what it's worth, and he gave me all of these other cards. And that's what you need to be able to start doing. If you want to build a collection that's worth way more than $50,000, you have to start buying better deals. That's my last suggestion. Let's get into this week's Where's the Market? Now let's check out Where's the Market? If you're new to this channel, this is the Where's the Market section where I basically go over what's happening in the sports card market, meaning I look at prices, I look at cards, I look at trends, I look at a whole bunch of different stuff. And if you've been paying attention for the last few weeks, then you know that there has been a trend to buy Thurman Munson cards. Now, I don't know why everybody's all over Thurman Munson at this point. Here's a 73. And this is a 78, okay? So I don't know why everybody is going crazy over Thurman Munson at this point, but there's a big push to buy Thurman Munson cards. That is the trend over the last few weeks. And his card prices obviously have been going up because of that. Now, I have these are, or I am going to sell them. I don't know how. That's actually sort of the point, is I'm trying to figure out the best way to sell some of my cards, and I will get into a little bit behind the scenes. That's in the next section. I'm going to tell you what I've been doing. But right now, what I figured I would do is I would just kind of go over what the prices are for Thurman Munson cards. And so here you go. This is what I found. When I went to eBay, these are the last 30 days of sales. First up is a 1970 rookie card for Thurman Munson. On September 17, a BCG graded 10 sold for $127.50. Then on September 3rd, a PSA 8 sold for $435. Next up is the 1971 Topps. That's the second year. On September 15th, a PSA 8 sold for $861, and before that, on September 8th, an SGC 8 sold for $860. And lastly, even a 1974 Topps card for Thurman Munson on September 10th, a PSA 9 sold for $244.99. Now let's take a look at this week's Card of the Week. This week's Card of the Week is the Frank Thomas 1991 Upper Deck card. Thomas played for 19 seasons and 3 MLB teams, White Sox, Oakland A's, and Blue Jays from 1999 to 2008. The Hall of Famer finished his career with 521 homers, 2-time AL MVP, and a 5-time All-Star. Welcome to Behind the Scenes. I don't know any other way to do this, so I figured I'm just gonna show you kind of behind the scenes. I mean, this is it. So I showed you earlier in the show my list of cards that I wanted to buy. And so I told you I got this whole stack of 12 cards for $100. It's worth, again, book value, it's about $300 to $400. It should cost, based on just the pricing, should cost about $175. I got it for $100, so I got $75 out of value just because I used cash. Now, the reason that I bought cards, and because I know probably everybody's going, wait a minute, why did you buy cards? I thought you said you need to sell cards. You have a hoard. I do. I have a hoard. But the whole point is that I'm trying to transition from a whole bunch of cards that I don't want to an actual PC. I'm actually curating a PC, and that means that you have to write down the cards you want to keep. If you don't do that, then you're just kind of shooting in the dark, and that's the point. Is I want you to understand that you have to have a plan. You have to have a personal collection plan. And so these cards are part of my plan, and then the rest of this stuff is not. So this is the stuff that I want to sell. So this is a 1984 Don Mattingly rookie card. That's I want to sell. This is a 1980 Rickey Henderson rookie card. I want to sell that. This is a Cal Ripken rookie card. I want to sell that. I have other stuff. So I have a 1976 starter set. I want to sell that. I have, this is the this is what's left of a 1991 Topps set. Okay, so there's no stars in here, but this is a starter set. There's no stars in here. So what is this worth? It's worth about like $5. That's it. It's not worth much, but I want to sell that. Then I also have a 1981 complete set. I have another 1981 complete set. You can see I'm a hoarder here. Then I have a 1982 complete set right here. I'll just so you could see that. So 1982 set. Okay, so we've got that. Now we'll get into some of the more specialty stuff, which is, again, when you do this for a long period of time, and I was a teenage sports card dealer. So I was a dealer from the age of 13 to 18. So I got my hands on a lot of stuff that most people never would get their hands on. So this is 1983 cello pack with Pete Rose on the front, and guess what? Pete Rose on the back. Can you believe that? Pete Rose double side, 1983. This is worth approximately $100. Again, it's worth about $100, depending if you get it graded, like if you get it in a PSA slab, this goes to probably at least $200, maybe even $300. Again, rare stuff. So that's that one. I've got nostalgia, just so anybody that grew up in the 80s and 90s, here you go. You got a Greg Jeffries Fleer cello pack. Again, totally sealed, and I used to keep them, or I have been keeping them, in these plastic containers, which keeps them protected from air, from all the other stuff. Again, totally sealed. That one's not worth that much, but it's nostalgic. That's it. So again, I'm not sure how to sell all this stuff, but here's another one. This is Gary Sheffield rookie. That's the Topps card. Again, sealed in a plastic. I got another one. Again, nostalgic. You've got Greg Jeffries from the Donruss. And then the last one. Now this one I have a lot of offers on, but this one is going to knock your socks off. So here we go. The Cal Ripken rookie card in a cello pack. Again, in a cello pack. Totally sealed. In a cello pack. So this one is actually worth about $300 to $350. I've gotten offers on that one, but again, still not sold. I have other stuff. Now this is, so that is an old school rack pack, okay? So I'm gonna show you the cards on the back so you can kind of see. So that's, believe this is 81, I wanna say. Yeah, 81. Okay, so I've got 1, 2, 3, 4 of those. And then I also have, this one is the Don Mattingly. That is a rack, so that's 1984 rookie card. I've got a Mark McGuire rookie card. Again, this is all sealed, and I keep these in these plastics, again, to protect the racks. I know how to keep things protected. And this one's a Bo Jackson from a Donruss set. So those are those, okay? And then we're still got a couple more stuff. So here we go. We've got a whole bunch of hockey cards. So I'll just, you know what? Oh, I don't know how I'm going to do this, but here we go. Al McInnes. We've got Scott Stevens, that's an all-star. A Luc Robitaille all-star. We've got a Greg Millen. We've got a Jeff Brown. Okay, we've got John McClain, a whole bunch of Devils cards. Those are early Devils when they used to wear the Christmas jerseys, the red and green. Okay, you got a Mark Johnson. That's an old Olympic guy. Again, another Mark Johnson. Let's see if we can get, see if I got another good one. So here's a Gary Suter, okay, with the Calgary Flames. Another Scott Stevens, that's with the Capitals. Rick Vive, anybody that knows hockey from back in the day knows Rick Vive. And here's another USA hockey player, Mike Ramsey. So anybody that's watched The Miracle on Ice, you know that one. Here we go. Ron Hextall. And I think it's his daughter does games for the NHL. I think it's his daughter, Hextall, does sideline reporting for hockey. You've got Craig Simpson with the Pittsburgh Penguins. And I'm going to see if I got anyone. Bill Ranford, for those of you from Boston. Remember Billy Ranford, goaltender for a while. Let's see, last one. Oh, Rick Tocchet, who is now a coach. Okay, so Rick Tocchet. So those are hockey cards. Again, it's not worth a lot. You know, we're not talking about a lot of money here. Again, I want to just sell this stuff. I want to get rid of it. I don't want it. I don't need it. You know, like I said, these were the cards that I was looking for. So I got all this stuff that I want to get rid of, and I'm holding on to this. Okay, I'm holding on to 12 cards, and I'm getting rid of all of this stuff. That's what you guys need to do. Now, we've got a whole bunch more. Okay, so I'm not going to go through them, but we got a whole bunch of cards in here. Okay, I got a whole stack. Here, there's the guy that didn't pan out. This is Trae Young. Okay, that's a rookie. Didn't pan out. There's a Jordan behind him. Okay, Jordan behind him. We got a Nolan Ryan behind him. We got a Frank Thomas behind him. Again, I got a whole bunch of cards. These are probably worth more. This box is probably worth, maybe like $500 or $600 worth of cards. That's how much this box is worth. So again, I'm trying to sell the cards. So, you have to go based on the values. You have to figure out, okay, what are the cards worth? So I would say there's probably about $500, $600 worth of cards here, which means that if you bought them, and so here's where the behind the scenes comes in. So if you buy cards, if you were to buy all of this stuff, you have to get it at a price that, one, makes sense for you. You get a deal. But two, if you're trying to make money, and again, the question becomes, well, how much money are you trying to make? And again, eking out some, like if you bought all this stuff, I would think that you would probably want to make like $400 to $500 if you were to sell all of this stuff yourself. I would say that if you don't make $400 to $500, it's just not worth buying all this bulk. It's just, you're not going to get any money. If you only make $100, it's not worth it. But if you can make $500, yeah, like buying this is a small little bulk collection here. This would be good enough for somebody. But, because you got two 81 sets, you got an 82 set, you got basically a starter set for 91 tops, you've got a 76 starter set. So just there, if you know people that like to do sets, there you go. I mean, and so you know what a set is worth. You know what you could sell it for. So that's kind of easy. Like, that's an easy one. You know what it sells for. Therefore, you know what your price is. But, you know, you also know the prices on these. You know what an 84 Don Mattingly rookie goes for. You know what a Ricky Henderson rookie goes for. And you also know what a Cal Ripken rookie for. So you know all of those things. The part that gets into, like, where you have to negotiate is all of these. Like, there's no real comp on this card. Again, because it's a sealed seller pack. Have some sold? Yes. Have some been graded? Yes. But there's not enough volume to really get an accurate comp. It's sort of a guesstimate. It's a relative. And that's where people get hurt because they don't really know what it's worth. Again, where I like to be is I like to be what's in realistic terms. So when I do a comp on this, I look at, okay, well, what is a recent sale? And there has not been a sale of this within the last year. Okay, so that's where you kind of go, all right, well, what about historically? What has it sold for? Or what have similar cards sold for? Or what does the rookie card sell for? And that's what you need to understand is all of those different factors. You're never going to open this. That's the point, is you would never open this. Maybe you would get it graded and actually seal the cello pack, but you're never going to open it because why would you do that? I don't know why. Again, that's you can do whatever you want if you buy it, but I would never understand opening a cello pack once it's been saved for this long. I would buy it, sealed, and then maybe get it graded, sealed, and then it's a sealed product that's being sold. What will it be worth in the future? Unless Cal Ripken rookie cards for some reason go up in value, like who knows, maybe there's a revival 10 years from now where people are like, oh my God, Cal Ripken was the Iron Man of modern baseball, which is remarkable. Again, no one plays that many games in a row. Like, this is incredible what he did. So if there's a revival, then yeah, you could actually see this go up in value, not just a little bit, but like double or maybe even triple. So I estimate this is worth around $350. So you could see this if there's a revival in Cal Ripken, that this could go to $700 or even $1,000. But there's no guarantee to that, and I'm just saying that's a possibility. Is it going to go down? Not unless people don't like Cal Ripken, which is, I think is unheard of. I think everyone's going to like Cal Ripken no matter who they are or how old they are. So this is, relatively a safe bet. Has it come down? No, actually, these kinds of specialty items do not necessarily really go down because they're not worth, like, again, this is worth $350. So it's not worth that much that there's something that's going to go down. It's a huge collectible. If you're a Cal Ripken fan, that's something that you might want because it's very different from everything else. It's rare. If you're a Mark McGwire fan, okay. See, these don't exist all over the place. Like, it's different. It's not a wax box where you're looking for the card. You don't know what's in the card because the wax packs themselves are, they're covered like this. But again, this is a rack pack from 81. So if you're looking for an 81 card, this is a good way. Now, there's no stars on these. I think these are just, there's no stars on these. So again, you wouldn't be paying up for this. But, an 81 rack pack is worth like $40. I mean, that's what it's worth. It's not a special thing. It's just a rack pack. Again, I've sold rack packs from the mid 80s and I've sold them and those sold pretty quickly. Like, people really, really wanted those. And again, no stars on them, but again, it's relative. You get a whole bunch of cards, you open it up, you have fun, and that's what you do. Again, you got the Don Mattingly, you got the Mark McGwire, and I told you I got the Bo Jackson. This is the kind of stuff. This is like the bulk that I'm not sure what to do with. So if you have suggestions, I'm open to them. If you want to DM me. Let me know. I don't know. Again, I'm in the same boat that you're in. This is the kind of stuff that goes to collectors. It doesn't go to card shops. Card shops don't want this type of stuff because unless they have a buyer, unless they know a customer looking for this kind of stuff, they're not going to they're not going to trade me anything because it takes up space in their display cases. They don't want to do that. They want in their display cases stuff they know is going to move. This is not going to move very quickly. I know people are going to be like, well, put it up on eBay. No, I don't want to put it up on eBay because I'm not trying to run an eBay store. Like, I don't want to have to check my eBay account every day and go, did it sell? Did it sell? Did it sell? It's not what I want to do with my time. I'm not trying to be a dealer anymore. I'm just trying to sell my cards so that I can take the cash and go buy the stuff that I want. That's it. I'm at the transition place of I have more things that I want. I want to get rid of the bulk. As you can see, it's bulk. I want to get rid of the bulk and move it into just cards that I'm looking for. And there was, I would say off of this list, like I said, there was 12 cards that I bought. There's probably about 18 cards on this list. So there were 6 more that I didn't get at the show because nobody had those cards or dealers were asking way too much money for them. Again, that's the point, is sell some more of this stuff, get the cash, and go and buy the stuff that I want for the PC. Hello everyone, and welcome to my favorite part of the show. That is the viewer comments. That is where you get to tell me what you think. I've gotten a whole bunch of new subscribers over the last few weeks, and I want to thank all of you. So if you are new, this is what we do. You put down your comment. I ask questions, you give me answers, and I go into them. I got 4 comments this week. They're all good. They're all bangers. So let's get into the first one. So this one is from Cine M4RL, and this is what he says. I love finding a good deal, but as often as that happens, I overpay for a card too. There are so many times when buying something, particularly something scarce, that to convince someone to remove it from their collection, you need to pay tomorrow's price, even if that tomorrow never comes, to put it in yours. Collectors, don't mind this. Flippers, hate this. That was on the video. Do I lose? Did I lose on overpaying for my Doc Gooden auto card? Yeah, perfect comment. Absolutely. Flippers hate this because they are working on margin. Collectors don't mind it if it's a card that they really, really, really want. Again, what I want everyone on this channel to know, all of my subscribers, all the people that are watching this, what I want you to know is there's nothing wrong with overpaying as long as it's a little bit. Like a little bit. I overpaid like $5 for the card. I overpaid $5. It's okay. I don't recommend doing that for every card. Again, it was sort of like I've been looking for a Doc Gooden auto for 2 years, and sometimes frustration's gonna be like, all right, look, I found the card that I want. I'm not gonna wait for another iteration of a card. That's the one. That's the card I want. And unfortunately, it was limited to 25. Again, that doesn't mean that it's worth a lot of money. It's manufactured rarity. My issue was there's only 25 of them. Therefore, if I find one that I like, I have to either buy it or I'm not gonna get it because there's only 25 of them. Therefore, the opportunity to see them being sold is the problem. And that's what you have to understand. If it's just a regular card, there's millions of them. You don't have to buy what someone's saying, like, yeah, you can wait and maybe it goes down. Again, over the last 9 months, everything has come down. So if you waited, if you didn't buy cards in January and you buy them now, you're paying less than what the card was worth in January. I'm teasing how much I think cards are going to go down for the rest of the year, but we'll get there. All right, let's get to the second one. This is from Alessandro Rossi. I like the name, $12.94. This is what he says: 500,001 cards to go. I don't know if Alessandro watched my sports card journey playlist, but if he has, that's alluding to I did a play on 999,000 bottles of beer on the wall with sports cards. Yes, I had 8 million cards. I'm down to less than 100,000. I showed you a lot of what I have left. That's it. I mean, that's all I got. Like, it's amazing. I don't have as much bulk. I feel so much better, and I'm really starting to put my PC together. I can't wait to show you what I've got, but I still need to get rid of a lot of cards. So I'm still focused on selling, but again, great comment. Let's get to the next one, because this one is great. I'm telling you, the comments are awesome from you guys. I can't begin to tell you. All right, so this is from Sting. 114, and this is what he says: where's your video from last Friday? I was waiting for you to talk about Jeff Wilson and his fake $144,000 profit on the Star Jordan card. All right, well, first of all, Sting, I was on vacation, and I appreciate that you're like waiting for these videos. It makes me feel good. I appreciate it. Now, on the comment, this is what I have to say. One, I don't really talk about Jeff Wilson. I'm going to say this. Here's what I'm going to say about Jeff Wilson. And this is not going to get me in trouble because I think Jeff will probably appreciate this. Before Cards HQ, I thought Jeff Wilson was a fool. Just a silly fool. He was the court jester of the sports card hobby. If you watched his content, very entertaining. I did. For the first year and a half that he came on out of nowhere, I watched, I think, almost every video he made. I was glued. I was like, this is really well produced. I have a background in media, television, journalism, all of this stuff. Like, I worked in TV, I worked at ESPN for a little bit, worked for ABC Sports, I worked for, I was a reporter for the Star Ledger. So I have a background in TV and media, and I watched his stuff. Like, he did a Christmas live on YouTube. This was going back, and he did some giveaways. Like, I was in it. I was like, wow, sports card investor. I never agreed with that. I made my first videos were actually telling you can't invest in sports cards. So I was clearly against his whole mantra that you can invest in sports cards. But again, from a content standpoint, early days Jeff Wilson, I thought was great content-wise, production value. What he said made no sense. He was the court jester. Now, since Cards HQ, there's a difference. I actually have a lot more respect now for Jeff Wilson because he's working. He owns a shop. He cannot afford to say and do some of the stupid things he did before. He can't afford it because he's going to lose all of his money. And now he's got skin in the game. And so when Jeff Wilson talks, at least about cards, he's being a lot more honest now. And I like that he's transparent about the Cards HQ journey. I appreciate that. And I think I wish that Jeff Wilson would lean more into what it's like to run a card shop of that size. Because no one has a card shop that size. Like, he's the biggest card shop in the world. So what is it like running that? And I have a lot of questions because, again, I was a CEO. I've run businesses. I was a superintendent of school. So I'm used to managing, supervising people, kids, like a lot of logistics and an all around nightmare at some points. Again, I was on the East Coast, so the month of February, I never got any sleep because you always are waking up at 3 o'clock in the morning. Am I closing school or not? Is there going to be snow? Is there going to be ice on the ground? I can't have the buses go out there. Like, a lot of headaches. Glad I don't do that anymore. But again, I have a lot more respect for Jeff Wilson today than I did years ago. And so I want to make that clear. I don't really know about the fake 144K on the Star Jordan. I know that he bought Star Jordans, and again, when they were inflated through the bubble, he overpaid for those cards. He's overpaid for most of his cards. I don't know the exact percentage, but I would guesstimate he's overpaid for about 70% of all of his cards. Probably to the tune of $1.5 million, maybe even $2 million that he's literally lost in value. Again, in terms of what he paid for stuff and what they're worth now, like I know that he paid, $500,000 for some cards and they're worth less than $100,000 now. I don't think he paid that much for his Michael Jordan 86 Fleer rookie cards, the PSA 10. I don't believe that he paid $400,000 or $300,000. I think he paid somewhere in the mid 100s, maybe like close to $200,000. So he hasn't lost that much on that card. Again, that one's worth around $140,000 on the top end to maybe, like, I personally think that it's probably closer to $100K, which is why those prices are going to continue to come down, because I think $150 is still way too high for that card. Before the pandemic, it was worth $40,000. So again, you can't have these like spikes and it be sustainable. It's just not going to happen. So there's no one that's going to plop down that kind of money unless they don't know much about cards. If you know about cards, you're not going to pay more than $100,000 for that card. Again, maybe a little bit, maybe 5 or 10K either way, like maybe you'll pay 105, 110, but you're not going to go more than that. It's only worth, again, if it's worth 140, you can't pay any close to 140. So it's not worth more than that. All right, anyway, let's get to the last comment. And this one is a doozy. All right, so here we go. This one is from Marshall Khan. 3342. This is what he says. You had 5,000 worth of cards. All right, so this is on the hobby bailout video. If you haven't seen this one, go watch it and then come back to this comment so you understand what I'm talking about. So here is what he says. You had $5,000 worth of cards. That's only part of the story. How much did you spend to get those cards? Surely more than $5,000. And you sold out for $1,500. That is a huge loss, buddy. All right, Marshall. One, awesome. I appreciate the comment. Here's the thing that I want to make clear, not just on Marshall's comment, but on most comments on social media. Marshall is making the classic mistake of assuming everything. That's a problem for you, Marshall. You should not do that. You should stop assuming you understand and instead do what you said, which is that's not the whole story. Okay, so if that's not the whole story, don't start assuming you know the story. Ask the question. That's the whole point of the viewer comment section. Say, wait a minute, that's not the whole story. What is the whole story? How much did you pay for it? How much was it worth? Like, ask your questions instead of making statements, because your statements are wrong, because you don't know what happened. You don't understand. So this is what I see, classic mistake on social media, is instead of asking questions, you make statements based on assumptions that are not real. So I'm going to actually give the whole story so that Marshall knows what it is and everybody else knows what it is. All right, in that video, again, that's the hobby bailout video, I talked about that I sold a lot of cards. I don't know how many cards. It was a ton of stuff. I'll just put it that way. In the lot was an autographed jersey. So it was a Hank Aaron jersey, Braves jersey. On the back, it was signed by all the 500 home run hitters pre-1990. So it didn't have Frank Thomas on it, didn't have any of the modern players, didn't have Ken Griffey. It was all the 500 homers before. So that's Mantle, DiMaggio, Aaron, Mays. We're talking about the Hall of Fame, like the GOATs, the real GOATs. Okay, so that jersey was in that lot, plus some autographed baseballs, plus a whole bunch of vintage cards, plus some other rack packs, and also in this huge lot was all of my World Series programs, my Super Bowl programs, and I'm talking like 100 programs, all of them. And I also had yearbooks from the Yankees, the Mets. Again, the Yankees probably were worth more than that. The Mets were probably not, but I had Tom Seaver yearbooks. Again, classic stuff from New York. All right. The whole lot was worth $5,000. Again, in terms of value, that's where we have to make that distinction. It was worth $5,000. Marshall, assuming that I paid more than $5,000, I don't know why you would assume that. That's just a bad assumption. It's worth $5,000 in 2024. That's when I sold it, beginning of the year. In 2024, I had the stuff for 30 years. So I got it back in the 90s. And I certainly didn't pay $5,000 for it back in the 90s. That's crazy. It wasn't worth $5,000 in the 90s. What it was worth in the 90s was probably around $1,500. That's what you guys need to understand. It was worth $1,500 in the 90s. It's worth $5,000 in the future, in 2024. Most of that appreciation is not appreciation, it's inflation. You double, from 90 to today, you have double the inflation. So if something was worth $1,500 in 1990, it's worth $3,000 in 2024. That's just inflation right there. If you don't understand money and you don't understand inflation, you're going to get stung in this hobby. You have to understand that cards don't go up in value most of the time. They just inflate based on inflation. That's it. That's all it is. So clearly you have to understand it. So it was worth $1,500 back then. I probably paid for everything. I would say I probably paid about $1,200 for it, because the jersey was probably the most expensive thing, and that was like $300. So I paid $300 for, and then everything else. So I would say I probably spent $1,200 on it, and so I sold it for $1,500. Again, that's in 2024 dollars. So if you think about it, I actually only got $750. If I got $1,500 in cash, in 1990 dollars, it was $750. So yes, technically on the inflation rate, I did lose money. Absolutely, I lost 50% of my money. But again, I didn't need the money at that point. I'm trying to get rid of bulk, and I'm taking that cash and deploying it somewhere else. The point is that I'm getting 2024 dollars. It's worth $5,000. I sold it for $1,500. I ended up making, if you want to look at it, I made $300. If you think about the total, like what it actually was worth, what I put into it. So I put in $1,200 again 30 years ago, and I got $1,500 today. That's not a real good profit margin. I'm going to say that right now, but I didn't lose any money. I didn't lose any money. I just didn't really make a profit. But that's my point, is I didn't want to spend more time trying to sell a $5,000 lot. I could have sold it, yes, and I probably could have made $4,500. That's probably what I could have made. But again, I'll take in an hour, I'll take the $1,500. I made $300. I'm fine with that. This dealer gets all the stuff. I don't have to deal with it anymore. And now I have $1,500 to go buy other stuff. And I even said that. Remember, I bought all of these cards for $100. Well, where did I get the $100 from? I got it from this sale. I spent $100 that I made from this sale, and I got a lot of stuff that I was looking for. So I didn't really and I got a good deal on those cards as well. I got $175 worth of cards for $100. So I paid less for that. That's why when I say that I overpaid for the Doc Gooden by $5, it's fine. I just made $75 in value on this deal. So that $5 overpay on Doc Gooden, I'm still making out. And that's what you need to understand. It's a holistic approach. It's a PC approach. That's why you need to make lists. That's why if you want to get the spreadsheet that I did, the 300 card challenge, you could do more than 300 cards. I'm busting through 300 cards. Like I can already tell that I'm not going to make the 300 card challenge. At least in the first round, it's not going to happen. I'm already at 200 cards in my PC, and I'm not even really done with the stuff that I want to save. As you can see in the background, I have been putting up more stuff. Like you can see the Braves license plate there. Again, I covered the Atlanta Braves in 1993 in spring training. Yes, I was there with Steve Avery, with Tom Glavine, with John Smoltz, and Craig Maddox. I got to watch them warm up every day for 2 weeks. It was unbelievable. Peter Gammons, who was the ESPN baseball analyst, was my mentor through spring training. I got to sit with him at lunch every day and just basically listen to him teach me how to cover baseball. I want to thank everybody once again. We have 2 more weeks of this series. So we did this one. This is basically, what would you buy for $50,000? Next week, we're going to talk about the $50,000 mistake. And then the following week, we'll wrap it up with how you go from $50K to a $1 million collection. If you want to check that out, hit the subscribe button. I'm going to see you next week. This is Doc Schwartz saying, have a great weekend. I want to thank you for joining me this week. EDI Sports Show. We're here every single Friday talking about sports and sports cards. If you're not a subscriber, subscribe right now. If you have a question or a comment, put it down below. This is Doc saying, I'll see you next week.
There's only one show. There's only one show I want to watch. EDI Sports Show. Every Friday. From interviews and card news to the sports behind the scenes. Only one show covers the deeds. EDI Sports Show. There's only one show.
Peter Gammons, who was the ESPN baseball analyst, was my mentor through spring training. I got to sit with him at lunch every day and just basically listen to him teach me how to cover baseball. It was a master class in sports journalism, especially on baseball. He used to tell me, because he worked for the Boston Globe, so he used to tell me stories about Dennis Eckersley. He used to tell me stories about all the old, like the pesky pole and Fenway Park. And again, I went to school in Boston, so it was sort of like, okay, and so I could go to Fenway and kind of understand it. I ended up actually broadcasting a game from Fenway Park. I was the play-by-play announcer for the Beanpot tournament, which is typically a hockey tournament, but they did one for baseball, and Tom Glavine's brother, Mike Glavine, was in the tournament. He played first base for, I believe it was Providence. So again, I did the whole Beanpot tournament from Fenway Park. I was in the booth. Again, at like 20 years old, I was living a dream. I'm just going to say that. I can't understand how lucky I was in all of my experiences, but it all brought me here to you guys to give you this show. I want to thank everybody once again.